For each of the last few biennials, we have invited Rabbi David Hartman to join us so that we could honor him, but alas, health challenges made that journey from Jerusalem impossible in these last years of his life. So it is with considerable sadness and abundant love that tonight I have the privilege of presenting this year's Rabbi Alexander Schindler Award to Rabbi Professor David Hartman, who died this past February. This award honors the extraordinary legacy of Rabbi Schindler, whose courage and vision redirected the course of Jewish history by expanding our definition of who we are. Alex was the rare leader who met the challenges of his day with bold initiatives, refusing to cling cautiously to the status quo. He was a true Ohev Yisrael, who prodded the Reform movement to participate fully in the Zionist world and was a prime mover in the creation of ARTSA and ARTSA Canada. How fitting that we present the 2013 Schindler Award to Rabbi David Hartman, who in his own forceful and unique way changed the course of Jewish history by tearing down the false divisions between the various authentic expressions of Judaism. David Hartman was born in 1931 and raised in the Brownsville section of Brooklyn. He studied with Rabbi Soloveitchik at Yeshiva University and received his rabbinical ordination in 1953. Professor Hartman went on to study philosophy at Fordham and McGill Universities, where he received his PhD. For years, he was the beloved rabbi of a large Orthodox congregation in Montreal before making Aliyah in 1971 with his wife Bobby and 5 children. His books include Maimonides, Torah and Philosophic Quest, A Living Covenant, The Innovative Spirit in Traditional Judaism, Conflicting Visions, Spiritual Possibilities of Modern Israel, and A Heart of Many Rooms. Back in 1975, not long after David brought his family on Aliyah, I walked into a class he was teaching at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. Learning with him was nothing short of exhilarating. He stripped away all of the superficialities of Jewish life and thought with his single-minded focus on finding the truth. Learning with David was as if someone turned on the lights in a very dark room. He shattered forever my narrow conception of traditional Judaism. I told David that he was the reason I decided to become a Reform rabbi. Now, many Orthodox rabbis would consider this a failure, but not David. Many of you were privileged to study with Rabbi Hartman, but just so you all get a sense of what an extraordinary religious thinker he was, the Shalom Hartman Institute has put together this short video with clips of David doing what he did best: teaching, agitating, and reconceptualizing the Jewish tradition. Let's spend a few moments now with David Hartman in the Beit Midrash of his beloved Hartman Institute in Jerusalem.
I'm fighting monopoly claims. That's all. I'm an anti-monopolist. I want to decentralize. I want a free market. I want a free market of ideas. I want to open it up to different possibilities and not claiming that my possibility is the only true, authentic voice.
Midrash doesn't grow. You know, you wake up in the morning and you make a midrash. Something is bothering you. You feel uncomfortable about being elected as a Jew by a God who is supposed to be the creator of the world. So you got to make room for a God who cares for a whole world and not just strangely for Jews.
And sometimes my task is to uncover parts of the tradition that need to be rethought and reshaped. And I'm going to, and sometimes it's a very deep emotional, spiritual crisis. Because many times I see things in the tradition that I wish weren't there, but they're there. And I can't run away from it.
The language of prayer is an expression of personal need, which I understand. It's born from your own human situation. And it's not for me to judge. Is that an authentic human situation? Are you allowed to feel better? Are you allowed to feel more at home in the universe? That you're not just flying all over? That you're anchored someplace? That's what's important. You feel you have someone to turn to.
And the great gift of Israel and the Zionist revolution, has freed us from apologetic thinking. We don't have to, in some way, make ourselves look totally nice. So we don't have to clean up everything. What we have to do is to see what we need to clean up.
You know, I move in new directions. You never know where Hartman is going to take you. So that's true. I don't even know myself. And I like to be surprised. That's the fun of being a teacher. You know, you think you know what you're going to talk about, and then suddenly something hits you, a different insight. And you open up windows. Oh, that's the great experience. You start walking there, and you don't know if you're going to get lost there.
David taught us to question traditional beliefs. So I'm not convinced that he believed in a yeshiva shel mala, a heavenly academy, but I'd like to imagine that there is such a place in this vast and mysterious world, and that it looks a lot like the Beit Midrash at the Hartman Institute. There aren't just frum scholars debating law and philosophy. No, there are secular and orthodox and reconstructionists and conservative and reform men and women probing the very depths of our tradition with no one presuming to have the automatic upper hand. Convincing arguments and imaginative thinking rules supreme in this heavenly academy, with our Rabbi Hartman pushing everyone to dig deeper and deeper. Rabbi Hartman's disciples are found throughout our movement and are spread out all over God's earth, planting new seeds of respect, tolerance, and hope in the hearts and minds of new generations of students. He was the consummate public intellectual that we so desperately need in our world today to heal the divisions inside Israel, between and among Israel and diaspora Jewry. Ashrenu, how blessed we were to call Rabbi David Hartman our rabbi and our teacher. But as the Talmud teaches, Chaval al de'avdin v'la mishtatchin, woe unto us, for he cannot be replaced. May we have even a fraction of his insight and backbone as we help to shape a more compelling Judaism for the next generations. It is my privilege now to present the 2013 Rabbi Schindler Award to Rabbi Hartman's son, Rabbi Dr. Biennial Hartman, who is an extraordinary visionary of Jewish life in his own right. Biennial is taking the Shalom Hartman Institute that his father founded to newer heights every single day. I know David Hartman would be thrilled to know that the URJ and the Hartman Institute have just, literally today, launched a new, unique partnership of Israel engagement. Their I Engage curriculum will be a pillar of the URJ's new strategy to make Israel engagement an every single day practice in North American Reform congregations, beyond headlines and crises, to the core ideas upon which the Jewish state is built. A cohort of URJ congregations in the spring and summer of 2014 will begin to access the resources and experts of the Shalom Hartman Institute and the Union for Reform Judaism and our wider reform movement through a series of deep learning sessions, consultations, regional gatherings where they will network with one another, share best principles, experiences, and ideas. I know the deep bonds between the Hartman family and the Hartman Institute and our movement will grow even deeper and more powerful in the coming years. Rabbi Dr. Biennial Hartman, in memory of his father. Top on there, take a little picture.
Very often, we only remember to say thank you. We only appreciate. We only really respect people sometimes after they die. But your love and respect and kindness to my father was something that he felt in his lifetime. He felt it, he counted on it, and he was nurtured by it. And as his son, and on behalf of my family, I thank you for that. For in many ways, even though tonight he is getting the award and he's not here, he felt that award for decades. My father was an Orthodox Jew whose love of God compelled him on a journey to search and to build Judaism of honesty. God didn't diminish his sense of self. God obligated him and pushed him to stand tall as God's covenantal partner and to ask, how do I create a Judaism of excellence? How do I create a Judaism that makes sense? How do I create a Judaism of depth? How do I create an honest Judaism? For he believed that only such a Judaism would continue and would be deserved of continuity in our open marketplace of ideas, the marketplace that my father so loved to live in. Today, in the few places that it happens, when an Orthodox, conservative, or Reform rabbi will sit together on a stage together, and they'll be challenged to ask, please, each one of you, say what it is that you respect most about the other. Invariably, when asked to speak what they feel most respectful and most important about the Reform movement, people will very often say, it is your commitment to tikkun olam and to social justice. Those of you who know my father know that he never spoke about tikkun olam. That's not what he loved in you. What he loved in you was the kindred spirit to search for a Judaism of honesty, to build a Judaism of excellence. A Judaism of honesty and excellence doesn't just obligate us to look at our tradition and to question and to doubt and to change that which needs to be changed. Very often, the greatest challenge that we face to build that Judaism of excellence, to be honest, is not to simply try to correct a tradition which is 3,000 years old, very often it is also to be able to correct ourselves, to correct our own presuppositions, our own truths, our own givens. The most common leap of faith that people make is not a leap of faith in the name of God, if only it was so. It's more often than not the leap of faith that we make in which we continue to walk in the path that we're familiar with, that's comfortable, that keeps our givens and presuppositions precisely in the same place. What my father most respected about you and to Reform rabbis who were his chavrutas was your courage to question your own presuppositions. Over the last decades, your movement is not just simply asking itself where it wants to go, but is also looking carefully and saying, where have we come from? Loyal to the last 2 centuries, but also questioning and saying, what must me change? What must be a new approach to Torah and to mitzvah? What did we as a movement possibly get wrong? And it was precisely rabbis who were engaged in that question who found in my father a kindred spirit. And it is precisely in those rabbis that my father found a kindred spirit. To be willing to criticize yourself is the beginning of building a new path of honesty. And my father loved that, loved it, and respected it in this movement. But there's something else that moved him deeply. My father was a Zionist. He didn't just make Aliyah. He loved living in Israel. And he loved Israel. For him to be a Jew started with his commitment to the Jewish people. It started with a covenant of destiny, to be connected to a people. Torah came second. And for him, Israel was the canvas on which this people was going to write its new Torah, was going to shape a society built on Jewish values and Jewish ideas. For him, Israel was not simply a place that Jews lived. It was the heart of what it meant to be a modern Jew. He looked at the Reform movement and at Reform Jews, and he was amazed. Because the truth is, you should have walked away from Israel a long time ago. How much insult, how much alienation, how much lack of respect should a person take before they say, enough? What do I need it for? In a Jewish world where love for Israel is all too often dependent on having to agree with it. And if I don't agree with it completely, or it doesn't live up exactly to what I want it to be, well, then I can't love it. I want Israel, and my father coined this term, I want Israel to be my nachas machine. And if it's not my nachas machine, I'm not interested. Goodbye. Or for others, love for Israel means agreeing with it, and therefore I have to agree with it by definition. And love for Israel is measured by the size of the flag that I wave. What he loved about you is that your love for Israel is measured in the fact that you're willing to fight for it. My father said in the 70s, Israel's too important to leave up to Israelis. And he saw you as people who are willing to fight to build a different Israel, who are not willing to walk away, even though in truth you should have. People who said, I don't care what you do. The one thing you're never going to do is to get me to leave you. I'm going to fight for you, and I'm going to love you enough to fight with you to build a different type of Israel. My father believed that the meaning of Israel as the homeland of the Jewish people was to create a place that all Jews could feel at home, that all Jews could be respected. Not a place simply that all Jews would be drafted into the army, not a place where all Jews are allowed to die, but a place where all Jews could live and breathe and be respected. He dreamed of such an Israel. And he loved you for fighting to create such an Israel. Thank you very, very much for this beautiful honor that you bestowed upon my father. Thank you for the kindness, for the respect, for the Torah that you came to him to learn. Thank you for walking with him. He loved being with you, and he was inspired by you. Thank you very, very much.